Hello, everyone. A very good morning and a very, very warm welcome to day two. So, my gratitude extends to each one of you who's joined us here today to be attending the Forum on Energy Efficiency and Decarbonization, commonly referred to as the FEED 2022. This forum has been organized by Alliance for an Energy Efficient Economy. I think today is a very perfect day to cozy up in wherever we are sitting to listen to some very interesting discussions that are yet to pan out through 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's our entire day. I have a few technical instructions to give before we start the event. So, this entire event is going to be recorded. And secondly, all of you will have the opportunity to post questions and answers in the dialog box you see on the right side of your screen. So, whenever an appropriate session is going on, we'll take up as many questions as time permits. We have multiple information sessions planned out, and each of them is going to see a lot of deliberations and discussions that are going to help India in shaping its energy efficiency landscape. So, without much ado, I'm going to call in Dr. Satish Kumar, Executive Director and President of AEEE. He was also the convener at the Steering Committee for FEED. I'm going to hand it over to you from here, sir. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the second day of the feed. I would like to begin by thanking our sponsors who have made this event possible. Platinum sponsor Danfoss, gold sponsor Tabreed, silver sponsor St. Gobain, and Smart Juice for helping us out. This first session on day two is a unique story of how one man has walked the talk. And we are absolutely privileged to have Dr. Sanjit Bunker Roy, who is a Padma Shri awardee. And he has very specifically asked me to not give a big intro. He has said that just introduce me as someone who is working in the villages of India for the last 50 years. So with that short introduction, Bunkerji, over to you. And I believe that we have one or two videos to start your presentation. So over to the team.
In the poorest villages around the world, people are looking for solutions to poverty, pollution, access to clean water, and gender inequality. But one solution has been right there before our eyes. A woman. Her voice, silenced for generations, often by her own community, is now being used to inspire and transform. Her lack of formal education isn't her limitation. She has the gift of traditional knowledge and conventional wisdom, and the courage to help us create a sustainable world from the ground up. Releasing her potential starts with a journey, one that begins in Rajasthan, India at Barefoot College, where she meets a world full of new challenges and possibilities. We see her and women like her learning new technology the practical way, giving them the skills they need to become barefoot solar engineers, pioneering change. Upon returning home, she brings light that illuminates homes and powers night schools. She develops clean drinking water systems and teaches others to do the same, paving the way for a better quality of life for all. The proof. Today, over 1,200 villages are solar electrified in 64 countries, bringing new life to over 500,000 people, one woman at a time, one village at a time, one country at a time. The search is over. She is the solution. She is a barefoot woman, and she is our future. Being the change we would like to see in the world starts by empowering her. Share her story. Share this video and join the movement.
One of our best partnerships in the area of skills is the training of solar mamas. Every year, 80 African women are trained in India to work on solar panels and circuits. After the training, they go back and literally electrify their communities. Each woman is responsible for electrifying 50 houses in her community on return. And you'll be surprised. A necessary condition for the women to be selected is that they be illiterate or semi-literate. They also learn several other skills like basket making, beekeeping, and kitchen gardening during their stay.
Have I got the floor, Satish?
Yes, sir. Please, floor is all yours, and please start your address.
Ladies and gentlemen, in 1965, I went to the Bihar famine after a call from Jayaprakash Narayan to serve and see how we can help the people dying of hunger and disease and poverty. And that changed my life. Between 1965 and 1967, I was thinking how I could help out in what I would like to call Bharat instead of India, because villages in India, we would like to call Bharat. So after going through an education in the Doon School and St. Stephen's College, I shocked my mother when I said I'd like to be an unskilled laborer digging wells in Rajasthan. For 5 years, I just dug wells as an unskilled laborer, and I was exposed to the most extraordinary knowledge and skills that very poor people have. People who had never been to school and college, and yet they had such extraordinary knowledge, practical skills, village wisdom. And I thought I would use that knowledge, traditional skills, and start a college only for the poor. The Barefoot College started in 1972, only reflecting the knowledge, skills, and wisdom of the very poor people of Bharat. Why barefoot? Because many people, millions of people in villages walk barefoot, and it is symbolic of poverty. Why college? Because it's a place for learning and unlearning. It's a place where the teacher is the learner and the learner is the teacher. And it's a place where you can make mistakes and try new ideas, crazy ideas. If they don't work, then you come back and start again. There's no such thing as failure in the Barefoot College. It's just something that didn't work out. So in 1984, I was called by the then Prime Minister to write a policy statement on the civil society for the 7th plan, which I did after much resistance from the bureaucracy, of course. But then the 7th plan document said for the first time that government budgets, government money should be accessible to civil society, because we are citizens of this India, and we should have access to government money to be able to do work on the field, in the villages, on government programs and projects. So in 50 years, now it's 1972 we started, I have been exposed to the policymakers at the highest level. I've also seen how those policies actually translated on the ground. And I have some experience to share with you. In 50 years, what did I learn? I learned that we are underestimating the extraordinary knowledge that people have. So what if they're illiterate? You know, Gandhi said there was a difference between literacy and education. We are talking about people who are educated, but they don't happen to know how to read and write. So why don't we capitalize on that human resource that we have, incredible human resource in villages of India, who have been marginalized just because they can't read and write and haven't been to school and college. So Gandhi said that the future of India in the villages is decentralization and demystification. How do you decentralize your decisions right down to the village level? And how do you demystify technology so that that technology is in the hands of very poor rural people. We started by setting an example by solar electrifying the Barefoot College. It is the only college in rural India which is fully solar electrified, and all our power comes from the sun. We said that how do we make a difference at the rural areas so that it has some impact on the people? We said that why don't we start by training women, illiterate rural women who have never left their villages in their lives, and how we can access them to sophisticated 21st technology and make them into Barefoot Woman solar engineers. We had an agreement with the Ministry of External Affairs in 2008 to be able to try and find rural women from Africa, Pacific, all over the world who could come under a program called the India Technical Economic Corporation. And we brought over 3,000 women from 96 countries south of the equator from 2008 to 2022 to the Barefoot College, trained them, and they've gone back and solar electrified 60,000 houses, actually saved about 45 million liters of kerosene from polluting the environment. How did this happen? We said, young people in the villages don't stay, they look for a job in the city. Engineers don't want to come to the villages because they want to commute up and down. And some of these centralized solutions don't seem to work because they have no repair and maintenance. Why not train? And the only people left in villages are women. And some of them are grandmothers. So why don't we train grandmothers into being solar engineers? So today, most of the women solar engineers all over Africa, Pacific Islands, Middle East, Latin America, Southeast Asia, all grandmothers who have gone back and solar electrified their own villages today. Criteria for selecting, they have to be illiterate, they have to be between 35 and 45. You're usually a grandmother at 35 to 45 in Africa. And they have to have the community endorsement to be able to come to India. How do we teach them? Sign language. No, do not use the written word because they're illiterate. So by sight and sound, in 6 months, they become barefoot solar engineers, competent, confident, barefoot solar engineers. They can put a solar lantern fabricated, put it together in about 1 hour, which is more than what you can say for any graduate who comes out of a university in 5 years. They have the practical knowledge. They may not have the theory, but they have the practical knowledge to do that. So in 20 years since we started 2000, we have covered most of the countries who are in the UNDP Human Development Index. We started from the bottom of the list and worked ourselves up. Sudan, South Sudan, DRC, most of the countries in Africa, Burkina Faso, all of these have been actually sending women under the Ministry of External Affairs ITEC program to India and trained them and gone back and solar electrified their village. Today, we have these 3,000 women who have solar electrified 60,000 houses. And actually together, if you put it together, it's about 1.4 gigawatts, almost a nuclear power station that did. Solution, decentralize. Solution, demystify. How do we actually have the competence and the confidence to think that an illiterate woman who's never left her village in her life can become a competent solar engineer? I went to Afghanistan, and this woman actually solar electrified the first village in Afghanistan. And she went and sat with the men. So the men said, "What are you doing? You're not supposed to be sitting here. You're supposed to be sitting with the women about 300 yards away. You're not supposed to sit with the men." So she said something very profound. She said, "Today, I'm not a woman. Today, I'm an engineer. And I have every right to sit next to you because I've solar electrified your whole village." Today, I think that is an answer, that is a message for the women around the world. How is it possible to train women to be able to solar electrify their village? When I've been to 36 countries in Africa, And wherever I went, the youth have said, "Why are you taking these grandmothers? They're useless. They only cook in the house and look after the grandchildren." I said, "Will you agree to be trained by your grandmother when she comes back after 6 months?" He said, "Oh, I'm horrified. No, no chance, no question." She goes like a grandmother, comes back like a tiger, comes back and solar electrifies her own village. And the youth are in total awe. They do not understand how this woman, who was a nobody, has become a leader, a role model, a change agent in their village today. And every young boy who has actually seen some of these women solar electrified have said, "I'll be very happy to be trained by you as a grandmother." So there's been a sea change in the attitude and the mindset of people when you see these women coming back and solar electrifying their villages. Today, I think they have set an example for the rest of the world how women should never be looked down upon just because they can't read and write today. So I've taken a lot of time, Satish, so I'd be very happy to some questions. I hope I've been provocative enough today. Thank you.
Thank you, Bankarji. These are incredible stories of, I think, how you have been able to empower some of the citizens, I think, around the world that I think, in a traditional sense, our society unfortunately doesn't see them fit for quote unquote productive work or technical work. And I loved what you say about the Afghanistan experience, that today I'm not a woman, I'm an engineer. I have solar electrified this village and I have every right to be sitting amongst all of you. I think that's absolutely stunning. I think if the people who are graduating from your college are able to do this. Um, while we are going to take some questions, because people are going to post, I encourage people to be posting questions for Dr. Bunker Roy, who is amongst us and willing to take on questions. Just a couple of questions from my side to start with. You did talk about the difference between education and literacy. And I'm sure that you have at the National Education Policy of 2020 very, very closely, because it has been widely discussed and debated. And it does focus on what it says, the skill-based learning for students. So my question is that, having been working with, I think, all these people from all over the world, what do you think are the essential skills that should be inculcated in everybody who is coming out from sort of like high school or college, which you think is absolutely indispensable?
We have to look at this in a very different way. You cannot have an urban solution to a rural problem today, because there are many simple solutions that have already been found by the rural people. We just have to upgrade them and actually give them a bit of support to be able to scale it up. I think when you look at the rural youths today, or you look at the women today, they are looking for skills which are relevant for their own village. For instance, you have to look at someone who can be an engineer, who can be a plumber, who can be an electrician, who can be something who looks after computers. Idea is not to make them migrate into urban areas looking for jobs. The idea is to bring them back to the village and serve their own society. This mindset change is very necessary today. What really comes in the way is this whole issue of certification. If I am a plumber or if I'm an electrician and I actually electrify the villages in myself, why do I need a certificate? I'm not looking for a job in an urban town. I'm not looking for a loan in a bank. I'm not looking for a government job. I'm actually looking for being able to serve my own society at large. So certification is something which I have been against for many, many years, because the certification is done by the community you serve, not by the university or college you go to. There are many millions of people today in Bharat who have not got access to school and college, and yet they are absolute perfect professionals. They are para-professional. They have a skill which is extraordinary, but we don't recognize them because we say, oh, they haven't got a certificate. Why are we so hung up on certificates, Satish? This is what I think. So there are many, many skills which are required in rural areas, agricultural skills, water skills. For instance, rainwater harvesting is a skill. You don't need a water engineer to tell you how to make a rainwater tank in a village. All our 3,000 tanks that we have built, and we've collected about 80 billion liters of rainwater over 20 years. All of them have been done by people who are from a village, who have never been to school and college, don't have a degree, but they don't leak. They seem to work. So why aren't we actually respecting their skills rather than saying you need a certificate for this? Have I answered your question, Satish?
Yes, yes, no, very, very, I think a refreshing way. I think you more than anybody else, I think you know that how the current society is functioning. And I think especially with the focus on jobs and urban areas, and the point that you are making that you need a different paradigm, different model for the rural people to have very productive jobs and to be really making a difference on the ground. I do have like a couple of questions coming in. Maybe I think now. Um, one question is that uh, what will be the direction of your endeavors in future? Because clearly you have picked up like a couple of areas that you talked about. Maybe I think Tilonia village and the Barefoot College, I think is doing more. But one person is asking that, do you want to have more skilled women in the same skill set, or do you also have plans for extending some of these skill sets in some other areas which are going to be equally important in the rural India?
Today, my whole is to scale up this whole idea of barefoot women solar engineers globally as well as inside the country. I think this has become a barefoot model which has become a global brand to it today, the barefoot model. I would like to extend this and scale it up in many, many more countries that are needed today. There are many, many villages which are non-electrified today in the remote, inaccessible areas of the desert, of the tribal, of the mountainous regions. Grid will not help because to extend the grid will cost you about $100,000 a kilometer, especially in these in these inaccessible regions. So why not go solar? Why not go big time? And why not actually train people to be able to stay there in the village rather than commute up and down from city into a village and go back? So if you train women to be able to repair, maintain, install, fabricate solar components in the village, they are not only going to be solar engineers but entrepreneurs. So we are trying to give them work in a village to be able to be self-sufficient, so that the community can buy the lanterns or buy the 20-watt panels and actually install them and pay for the repair and maintenance of it all. So I think there's great, great potential for women to become become rural solar entrepreneurs on a large scale. We have covered only 96 countries south of the equator. We are looking for many, many more countries which need this sort of technology. And the Ministry of External Affairs is delighted to be able to extend this training program. Now we've got collaboration with the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy to do it in India as well. So from 2009, we've got the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy also looking at these solar mamas in these countries. So I think we have to focus. I don't want to dissipate my energies. I want to focus on the solar side, the demystify and decentralize the solar solution today in some of these remote inaccessible. And there's a huge challenge to it today. Whenever I go to all these countries around the world, I see villages which are non-electrified, and it's too expensive to bring the power grid into those places. We have to decentralize.
Dr. Roy, AEEE is an organization that is focused on energy efficiency, whether that is energy efficient of appliances or energy efficient of vehicles or energy efficiency in our homes. And one of the challenges I think that the country faces is that when we build our homes, or I think the other buildings, and especially in rural area, there is very little, sometimes I would say either technologies or local traditional materials that get used to provide thermally comfortable homes for people. And in a warming planet, I think that becomes very, very challenging. And I think people may find it hard to live in poorly constructed homes if we are not paying attention to this. So one of the questions also is that how do we actually extend some of the work that you are doing to produce people who are more well trained in the traditional way of energy efficiency? We don't need to actually go for certification and other things, which is the norm actually if you are thinking of designing these buildings in the urban areas. But do you have any thoughts, I think, in terms of how can we actually have a model where the construction that is going to happen, and there is a lot of construction that is supposed to happen over the next couple of decades, how can we make it truly sustainable through the skill building that you have embarked upon?
I would like to invite the participants to the Barefoot College in Tilonia, because it was built by 12 barefoot architects at 58 rupees a square foot. Today, it is still standing, it doesn't leak, and we have used local materials, local labor, local personnel to be able to build that Barefoot College today. The Barefoot College is also being solar electrified by people who have never been to school and college. And we have about 200 kilowatts of panels on the roofs, and they're all maintained by people who have never got a formal education. So I think on construction, we have always depended on local people who have the knowledge and how they can actually build without wasting, and using the maximum space available to be able to build something which is simple and productive and something which is acceptable. So I would invite people to come to the Barefoot College if they want to have a look at how the construction has actually been done. And these people have not only constructed houses, they have constructed rainwater harvesting tanks, they have constructed ponds, they have constructed dams, small dams. They have never been to school and college, but they are the ones who've actually done it at the village level, and they have been accepted by the community. So it's the community who actually accepts that knowledge and skills and wisdom that these people have. And they've been doing it for generations, Satish. So I don't think we can actually deviate from that, and actually we can learn from these people more than ever.
Definitely, I think we have been in discussions about bringing a team of AEEE young professionals. A lot of us work in the building, sustainable building design and construction space. And we would like to learn, I think, what is the right way to construct in rural India by visiting Tilonia College. And hopefully, I think we will be able to replicate the success story in other parts of India as well. Dr. Bunker Roy, thank you so much for, I think, your illuminating remarks and sharing some really outstanding experiences and the model that you have created. We would like probably hundreds of Barefoot College to bloom in India. And you have my promise that I think we will have an AEEE team visiting you, I think, shortly to learn from your experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Satish.
Thank you so much, Dr. Roy and Dr. Satish. So at 10:30 a.m., announcement for the delegates, we'll be hosting two parallel sessions, Executive Dialogue 2 and Decarbonizing the Building Construction Sector in India, and Executive Dialogue 3, which is Leveraging Demand Flexibility to make India power sector resilient, reliable, and cost-effective. So please reach the auditorium through the platform lobby area to view the two sessions and do dial in. So see you there. Thank you so much.